Share my screen. All right, guys. So I always want to talk about what the standard's about. The standard's always about 4 pillars. It's about bringing men together, to share, no judgment, no ego, just helping each other grow and lift each other up, and all about the four pillars. First one being mindset. It's how you think, how you respond, how you face adversity. Mindset's the difference between spiraling and stepping up. Finances, it's not about being rich. It's about responsibility, stability, leadership. Your money habits reflect your self-respect. Fitness, which is a little bit about what tonight is about. It's not to look pretty. It's to be strong enough to lead your family, to build discipline, energy, and confidence. And then brotherhood, men you can trust, men you will tell the truth, men who can help you carry the weight, you not judge. And that's what this whole thing is about. Let me just grab my notes here, guys, and kind of dive in for you tonight. So to start up this call this evening, guys, it's all about the title of tonight's message is all about health, identity, and leadership, all kind of based around fitness and health. So before we do anything, I want you guys to kind of, Phil, don't do this because you're driving, but the rest of you guys, close your eyes for a few seconds. And I want you guys to ask yourself, check in a little bit with yourself. How's your energy right now? How's my discipline? How's my confidence? How's my body been feeling? And how I've been treating it? So again, how's my energy? How's my discipline? How's your body been feeling? Just kind of take an inventory of where you guys think you are at that with a little self-assessment. Again, no judgment, no shame, just honesty. Because a man can lie to the world, but he can't lie to the mirror. And he for damn sure can't lie to his body. And one word in the chatter, you can come off of mute. How has your physical state been lately? And just be honest. Been pretty consistent, getting about 3 or 4 workouts in a week. So I'm feeling pretty good. I've definitely been eating way too much because of the holidays and stuff like that. But other than that, I've been pretty consistent with most of my good stuff. Feeling a little behind with nutrition, but
I'm a big, I work out and I love to eat. So I would say I'm pretty parallel to that. 5, 6 workouts, maybe last week. Two basketball runs. And like 4 workouts probably last week for me. And boy, when you think about December, January, since we got to kind of, everyone here's got a rep number. I would say that for me, there's been sleep is a huge priority in my life right now. And the last couple, 3 of the last 4 nights have been less than optimal sleep. And so I'm trying to dial in a little better habits when it comes to like eating or drinking after a certain time so that I can stay asleep and some of that stuff. And then when I wake up, of course, the brain just starts going, right?
Yep.
And so that's where I'm in. If I had to pick when it comes to health and some of the body stuff, I would say it's a matter of managing stress and trying to do that with positive sleep pattern, I would say is one of the areas of improvement for me.
Thanks, Phil, for sharing.
Yep.
Miles, Eddie, again, you don't have to share, but if you guys want to.
Because I'm practicing doing calisthenics right now, so I'm learning like a couple of stuff. But my workouts have been cool. I learned a bunch of new like tricks I can do, but part of the sleep. I'll be honest. Like, since I think I'm an insomniac, I've never really had great sleep ever since like as a kid. So unless I have melatonin, that's the only time. But I haven't had melatonin in the last 4 days. It's been cooked. I've been struggling to get to sleep. That's probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
Fitness, like health.
Should probably do a sleep topic in a few weeks. This keeps coming up. Eddie, it sounds like you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I try and do a workout almost every day. I try and eat as great as I possibly can too, especially, being a DM and at the office almost for 10 hours, 12 hours a day. I mean, I can pack lunch, but I need to eat 3 or 4 times a day because of all the talking. So sometimes I don't have the best, like if it's pizza I ordered from earlier or like frozen food, but I do work out. I usually do like a 30-minute cardio session at night. I'll like watch a TV show or like maybe I'll even like text people or like message or call people and go for a long walk while doing it. So I can multitask. But I'm always trying to keep my physical health in shape and intact. So keep my mental and physical together.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're all in pretty decent shape in this core group here. Right? So appreciate you guys sharing there. And that sleep topic keeps coming up. And Phil, you mentioned it a couple of times. I'll probably do a little deep dive, and we'll do one of those in a couple of weeks. But so where was I? Okay, so let me kind of set the tone for tonight, guys, and what tonight actually is going to be about. This is not going to be like a fitness class. It's not like a fat loss seminar or motivational hype session. It's not, not to Eddie to make you like a gym bro. Tonight is about three things. It's about standards, it's about identity, and it's about leading yourself. And here's something every man needs to understand. When a man wins with his health, he wins everywhere else. Your patience is better, your mood is better, your stress and tolerance increase, your discipline sharpens, your leadership rises, your wife gets a better husband, your kids get a better father, your teams get a better leader. You just get a better version of yourself. So I want to tell you guys exactly, I've mentioned this a couple of times that, I did 75 hard a couple of times. I did a couple of phases of phase hard, and, it was it wasn't for Instagram. It wasn't for aesthetics, even though I like looking better, obviously. But the truth is I needed to prove to myself that I could follow through again. And by the way, this whole thing is not to tell you should do 75 hard. I don't think it's for everybody, but there's some very big core lessons that I learned for it that's really helped me change a lot of my life. And football, and those of you guys have played sports before, that was the last time I really had challenged that demanded everything from me. It was like the one thing I never really gave up on or gave excuses to. After football ended, I just kind of got soft, not physically, but mentally. I think in my 20s, I probably drank more than I should have. I ate way more than I should have. And, I worked out, but it wasn't consistent. I'd do for like a month on and 3 months off, another month on and 3 months off. And, it just was nothing consistent at all. And at one day, I was just tired of hearing my own excuses. We were in COVID at that point. We had been stuck inside for about, 8 months to a year at that point. My wife was just getting tired of me saying this constant verbiage. I don't have time. And she's like, if you say that one more time, I'm literally going to murder you. And those guys that are husbands, you probably could feel that a little bit from your spouse, but I needed to prove to myself that I could actually follow through on something really challenging. I can still be a man who follows through. I can still be a man who keeps a word to himself, and I can do hard things without complaining or negotiating. And then something happened during that season that changed me forever. And people ask me all the time, what was the hardest part of doing it? Just so you guys know what 75 hard is, just in case you don't. It's 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes. One needs to be outside regardless of weather. I remember my last day of doing it, I did a run in the snow on Christmas Eve. I ripped my shirt off at the end of it. So it was just one of those like confidence defining moments of my life. It's 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes. You have to drink a gallon of water. You have to eat a meal plan with 0 cheat days. You can't drink alcohol. You have to read 10 pages of a self-development book every day, not listen to, but read. And you have to take a progress photo every day. So it's a lot. The biggest thing that I got from that is obviously the planning session of it. But, if I didn't plan any of that stuff, I probably would have failed that in two days, which I've seen people do very consistently. The hardest part for me, though, is I did it this time of the year. I literally finished it. Day 75 was Christmas Eve. So that means like day 50 to 60 was like right smack dab in the middle of Thanksgiving. I was watching my entire family eat incredible food. My wife made probably the greatest spread I've ever seen in my entire life. And I had to stay locked in. That was one of the moments I truly had that tested my integrity as a human being. And here's the part that hits me every time. And I didn't know this at the moment, but that ended up being the last Thanksgiving I had with my dad before he passed. And we had a tradition together, and we'd always have he always drank 7 and 7s, it's just a nice little whiskey and Sprite. And we'd always have one of those drinks together, as a father and son tradition every single Thanksgiving. And I couldn't have that one last drink with them. And again, in the moment, I didn't know that was going to be the last time I was going to have a Thanksgiving with them, but you guys get what I'm saying. That eventually broke me a little bit, but also built me. Because I realized discipline is going to cost you things. Discipline requires sacrifice. It always going to just require some sort of sacrifice, whether that's big or that's small. If you want to be in the greatest shape in the world, you're not going to be able to eat every food that you want. If you want to be the best CEO on the planet, you're going to have to sacrifice some time with social friends and everything like that. But the man you become is always worth the price. The other low point, about literally halfway through, I texted my buddy and I was like, I'm literally about to quit this. Those of you guys in the Northeast, you remember Earl saying a lot of the times, the beginning and end of a marathon isn't the hardest, it's the middle, because you can't see the end. Because there's all this enthusiasm at the beginning, you see the finish line when you get to the end, but right in that middle, is where everyone usually quits. I was so drained. I was so tired. I was running a full, I was doing it during J Pro and stuff like that. I was just exhausting myself and I was ready to quit. But the biggest thing is I had a support system that carried me when I couldn't carry myself. And without them, I never would have finished this. And that taught me something that every man needs to hear. Strong men aren't the ones who never struggle. Strong men are the ones who refuse to struggle alone. So a little prompt I can give you guys today. What's a moment you would have quit if you didn't have somebody in your corner? So what's a moment you would have quit if you didn't have somebody in your corner? If anybody wants to share, you're more than welcome to, but not required. But do a little thinking on that. Even if you don't share, just write it down. Okay. Everyone got that moment? All right, perfect. Now, so that season of change, guys, it changed a lot of stuff in my life. Not because of the rules, but because of who I became. What 75 Hard actually did for me, guys, is I became more consistent. My standards went up drastically. My discipline stopped being negotiable. I don't think I've missed a gym workout more than a week in like 5 years at this point. I read 5 to 10 books every year without effort. I think I read 32 books that year when I did 75 Hard, and I was reading 10 to 15 pages a day. There's a couple of days where I read a little bit more, but I just was consistently reading 10 to 20 pages a day, and I ended up reading over 30 books. My energy drastically went up. I was just happier. My wife noticed this instant change about me. I lived what I preach, and people actually felt it, because vulnerability is the ultimate connector, and people don't follow perfection. They follow proof. And once I stopped pretending and I started living, people started trusting me a lot more. By the way, the district managers in the room, like, this is the biggest thing I did worse when I was a new manager. I would say all this stuff to do, but I never practiced what I actually preached. And when I started following through on all that stuff, that's when a lot of my guys started, really leveling up drastically. Because once I stopped pretending and started living it, people again trusted me a lot more. They felt the real me again. So I want you guys to jot something down. I'd love to hear at least one share on this. But what's one transformation you want in your life right now? At least write it down, but I would like at least one share if we can. Yep, go ahead, Daddy.
For me, I think it's just eating habits. I mean, like I did mention earlier, sometimes I eat like the bad things, but I feel like for me, I need to stop eating well during the day and then at night being like, oh, let me get a cookie so I can have that sweet taste at night.
Yeah, so you do well all day, and then you kind of cheat at the end, and it all goes to naught. Yeah. Something I always say in that, Eddie, is don't let one bad day turn into a bad week. Don't let a bad week turn into a bad month. It's okay to have cheat meals and stuff like that. It's just like, be conscious of how you're doing it. In the past, what I like to do a lot is I like to eat really healthy, Monday through Friday. And then like Saturday night and Sunday, I just don't care. Thanksgiving obviously kind of ruined it a little bit this week, but you kind of get what I'm saying there. So just don't be judgeful if you do have one of those cheat nights, because everyone has. You can't be perfect and do that. Cool. All right. Anyone else want to share? Are we good?
Probably getting closer to God. I always wanted to get, because I feel like I have every situation in the Bible is literally, and you draw it out what you're supposed to do, and just doing it. It's not like a restriction, but it's like protection. So just being able to just like doing it, that's probably one of the things, and that would just help my life all the way through.
It's a big thing I've been trying to work on too, is faith and spirituality, and being a dad, losing people that are close to you. You're hoping they're not going into some void. Phil, I've talked to you a little about this too. So I definitely want to. You get those guys that are very into faith. Definitely want to kind of pick your brains a little bit about that. So let's talk about performance, guys, because this is where I find, men tend to perk up a bit. Your body controls your brain. So your brain controls your emotions control your action, and your actions shape your identity. So if you guys think about it, and we talked about sleep earlier, if you're tired all the time, you lead worse, you snap quicker, you get anxious, you get more reactive, you make weaker decisions. If your energy is strong, you're just more calm, you're more patient, more focused, more confident and intentional. And again, a strong body creates a calm mind, and a weak body creates a chaotic mind. And men always want different outputs, but they never want to change their inputs. What I mean by that, guys, is like we want the success, we want the house, we want the kids, we want the wife, we want all that stuff, but nobody ever wants to do like change the input. And Albert Einstein once stated that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So what I mean by inputs, guys, is like what you eat, what you watch, who you hang with, what you listen to, what you're scrolling through on social media, what your sleep schedule, like how you're starting your day. If you want a different output, change the input, because motivation is nothing. Environment is everything. And I find there's 5 types of men, guys, when they're going through these type of journeys. And it sounds like some of you guys are kind of, a lot of you guys are very fit people. You do a lot of good things, but I find there's 5 types of men who are going on this type of journey. And I've been one of these men probably at some point in my life. And, you guys can probably identify who you are right now. The one is the excuser, talks big, acts small, but always has a reason why they can't do it. The starter, hot for 2 weeks, cold for 2 months. That was me, for a lot of my 20s. The lone wolf, thinks he can do it all the time, but he burns out every time he does it. The grinder, this is definitely me in my 20s as a DM, works hard, but it was just sloppy. It was just all effort, just no system. And then the standard bearer, consistent, humble, is quietly dangerous. He wins because his identity is non-negotiable. So a little reflection you guys can jot down. Who are you honestly acting right now? Like what person are you being? Are you being the standard bearer, the grinder, the lone wolf, the starter, the excuser? So if you don't know where you are, it's hard to fix where you're at. You got to start from kind of that baseline first. I definitely know I was like I said, I've been a mixture. I've been the lone wolf before, definitely been the starter, the excuser. So I've been one of all of those people at some point in my life. So doesn't matter. Don't judge where you are right now. Just know that you can always come out of that and become a different person. So I want to actually teach you guys something that can actually help you guys start your day drastically in a much better way. And when I did coaching, and I don't know if I've told you this, but I paid tens of thousands of dollars of coaching over the last 5-6 years or so. And I think one of the bigger things that I got from it is how you're starting your day can really define the rest of your day. And I know there's a lot of talks about morning routines and success routines, and it's like the whole thing all over social media. And the thing that probably got me confused more than anything was just like, what do I actually do? And, do I do this? Do I do this? Do I journal? Do all this? Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Do I do all this kind of stuff? But my coach simpled it down for me to 3 basic things: find light, find movement, and find water. So find light, find movement, and find water. So to kind of teach you guys the science behind this, and this, again, how you're going to start your day. As soon as you wake up, find light. What sunlight does to you is it resets your circadian rhythms, which is your sleep schedule. It boosts your cortisol, the good kind. It increases a lot of serotonin, which is like our happiness drug, and sets up melatonin for better sleep later on, and wakes the brain naturally. So, Miles, you guys talk about the sleep thing a little bit. Like that's kind of a simple way you can kind of start. Just find some light first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up. I take my dog for like a 10 to 15 minute walk as soon as they wake up every morning. That's how I just kind of get my day started. Morning light is like your body's on switch. The second one is find movement. So this raises your core temperature. It increases dopamine, increases blood flow. It boosts your focus. It kills a lot of the anxiety you have, and also primes your identity. Like, I'm a doer. Guys, I'm not talking about doing a 45-minute workout. If that's you and you do that in the morning, that's cool. But, just walk for 10, 15 minutes. Do 10, 20 push-ups in the morning. Do some squats. Just get the blood pumping in your body to recharge and start your system back up, because you're just sleeping for 6 to 8 hours. And then I think the most important one is find water. So we are so dehydrated when we wake up in the morning that I think most humans are just living the day as just dehydrated people. Like, people definitely don't drink enough as it is. And that's one of the big things I got from, from doing something. It's a gallon of water every single day. And I don't know if I drink a gallon every day, but I'm pretty damn consistent with it. I'm drinking, like 4 or 5 of these cups pretty consistently, which, tends to, weigh out to like, at least a gallon, if not a little bit less. But what drinking water as soon as you guys wake up in the morning does, hydration equals energy. Fuels, it's your energy currency. It improves your blood volume, it helps digestion, stops your food cravings. If you guys are like feeling like constantly hungry all the time, just drink more water. And it resets your system too. So a little hack I can give you guys, after you brush your teeth or something at night and you go to bed, just fill up like your bottle of water, put it on your nightstand, and as soon as you wake up in the morning, just chug it. Now you don't need to chug the whole thing, but chug it good, get a good chug, sip, drink half of it, and it'll kind of restart your body a little bit. And, those of you guys that have dogs at home, not going to have a dog, just go take your dog for a walk for, 10, 15 minutes outside, get the body moving, get the blood pumping, and also get some sunlight at the same exact time. So I find most people wake up at like 40% battery, and water puts you at 100. And the last couple of things we'll kind of dive into tonight, guys, is I want to teach you guys the law of aggregational gains. This is a great book called Atomic Habits, if you guys are looking for one to increase your discipline or something like that. But the whole book is about the law of aggregational gains. And essentially what this means is small wins stack, change your identity, and they change your results. Like, this is the real secret for like winning at life. They aren't big leaps. They aren't heroic attempts. You're just getting 1% better compounded day after day. You become unstoppable. That's, I think, the biggest secret of 75 hard is you're stacking constant wins on a multiple day basis. And, at the end of 75 days, your whole identity shifts and changes. So James Clear said in the book, if you get 1% better every day for an entire year, you will be 37 times better at that particular thing. So you could be a complete novice at whatever it is, lifting, eating healthy, playing the piano. And if you just get a little bit better every single day, you're going to be better than 90% of people in the world, after a year of just focus. So you don't rise to your goals, you rise to your standards, and your standards rise with small wins. So when I'm at my strongest, guys, I'm always in beginnership too. I'm curious, I'm coachable, I'm humble, I'm focused on my race, because entitlement kills growth, beginnership fuels it. So, those guys that are a little bit more newer to it and you haven't worked out pretty consistently or haven't, focused on your nutrition a while, just be in beginnership. And what I find beginnership is, again, you're curious, you're asking questions. I find, I was always that guy who would never ask questions because I felt like I should know everything. And, that's the fallacy of being a leader, is that leaders don't know everything. When my reps ask me that, Aaron, how do you do this? Like, I don't know. Let me figure it out. I only go ask somebody like, I'm not going to lie to somebody just to like make stuff up on the spot. It also keeps you humble. I find a lot of the times when people like, especially, I start new things, guys, like I tend to compare myself to other people at the gym. Actually, I was doing this today. I was doing shoulder presses, and this kid next to me I was using 45-pound weights and he was using 30. I was like, I almost got into judgment mode for a second. It's like, oh, I was that guy like 2 years ago. So it kind of makes you step back a little bit. And I find comparison is the thief of joy. And when you're running your own race, you don't worry about other people around you. You just kind of put those guys that are districts for JPro, especially being your first, Miles being your first, just put blinders on and don't worry about the numbers of other people. Just focus on what you can get done and, stop worrying about other people. Because again, comparison is the thief of joy. So I'm going to ask you guys a question here. Where have you been acting like you already know and it's holding you back? So where are you acting like you already know and it's holding you back? I definitely know one. I've been acting like I'm the best district manager in the entire company. Probably need to humble myself a little bit. So I was doing that a lot this summer when I was just kicking my region's ass. And then my coach told me, hey, get outside of the Northeast and look at the other regions. And I got humbled really, really quickly. Phil doing 850K new this year as an example. So I want you guys to ask, write that down for right now. Where have you been acting like you already know and it's holding you back? And if you want to share, come off mute and just share real quick.
Can I just, I'll do two things real quick, Aaron.
Yep.
One, I think it's since the title of our group here is the standard, I think it's really important. You misspoke the quote from the book. And I don't know if it was intentional or not. I don't think it was intentional, but remember, we fall to our standards.
Oh, yep, yep. I
Yeah.
said that.
We we very rarely rise to the occasion of our goals, but we always fall to the level of our standards, right? So the book talks about I'm a non-smoker. Like, define yourself as a non-smoker. It's really easy not to smoke versus, I'm trying to quit,
Mhm.
trying to work out more, trying to talk to people, versus I personally am a non-murderer. So I'm never going to murder someone because my standard is I'm never going to murder someone. I define myself as a non-murderer, right? It's really easy to have that standard. And if my standard is 30 fire, if my standard is 20 set for training every week, if my standard is 3 workouts a week or 7, 6, workouts a week or whatever, we fall to those standards and we might have larger goals, right?
Yep.
My office won't fall below 7K. I think we're 3.5 years above, we've never sold less than 7K for 3.5 years. Right. So there's like a standard, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So as far as the question that was asked, I think really pertinent here is for me, it's like, oh, well, we've been number one recruiter. We're the best recruiter. And then I get the snot beat out of me this summer by Gamboa. And it's because we're a one-trick pony. We have been with our day 3 PRs and day 3 PR fire number program, that, but we haven't done SMRA, right? And so there's one. And then the other one I'll say is like, oh, well, we're just killing it. Jesse's killing it. Bucky. I got 2 other DMs. One of them's only been open for 3 months and he's doing really well. He hit P Banquet and he was pilot for 2 years. So I hope he can do well. But my point is we should have 20 with that many recruits. The other area that we need to improve on that's like, oh, where have I been acting like I'm all that? And then maybe not is, our development program in our division needs to be wider. We might develop strong 4 or 5 DMs, but we're not putting out 10 branches, as a division.
Yep.
So a standard that would be really smart to go on as a district or as a division is at least if you have X offices, let's say 4 or 5 offices, you ought to at least double or more in the summer. Like 5 offices should produce at least 5 offices more, right? Whether they're new districts or branches. So there's a standard that's like, I got to at least put out managers every summer if I'm a district manager. Otherwise, I'm not doing that right. That's like one area I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that very well as a division. So, yeah, there you go.
Thank you for sharing, Phil. Thanks for correcting me on that quote, by the way. I definitely misquoted that on accident. Awesome. Well, thank you, sir, for sharing. And then last couple of things, guys. And this is going to be a little bit about fatherhood and legacy. And I want to speak to the fathers, future father. I know there's some non-fathers in the room, but your kids watch everything. And I mean everything. And I listen to this podcast a lot by Ed Milet, and he constantly preaches this, that things are caught, not taught. As an example, those of you guys that are districts, your assistant managers aren't going to do what you say. They're going to do what you do. As a dad, your kids are not going to do what you say. They are going to do what you do because they're watching everything. And, Dad, for being a father or not, you definitely know this, but if your children, so ask this question, what you guys see. If your children copied your habits for the next 10 years, would you be proud or terrified? I would say before I started working on myself, I would be very terrified. I'm still working on some stuff, but if I was 28, I'd be blown away. It's just how bad my habits were back then. The greatest gift you can give your kids is a disciplined father they can admire. So as we wrap up, I want to give you guys a challenge for this week. Do the 3-pillar morning tomorrow. No debate, no negotiation. Find water, find light, find movement. Fill up your water bottle before you go to bed tonight after you brush your teeth, put it next to your nightstand. And then, You know, I don't know if you guys been noticing, I've been like posting those 4 checkups in the group me, you know, post those status, you know, just post a little checkup at the end of the day, just so you can hold yourself accountable to it. Pick one health standard for this week, just one, you know, whether that's working out 3 times a week, drinking a gallon of water every day, just going for a walk, you know, if you haven't worked out, you know, in a while. I want you to pick one win to stack daily. This is something easy but meaningful, like, you know, reading 10 pages in the morning when you wake up versus scrolling on your phone. That's a big one, by the way. You just don't scroll on your phone, doom scroll for 30 minutes when you wake up out of bed. One thing that helped me do that a little bit is I just put my phone across the room or in another room. So I'd actually get up out of bed to shut my alarm off, or my wife would murder me. So you pick one standard you want to stack daily. And then tell another man that you're committing to it. You know, accountability matters. And then track one thing you guys can do this week. So do the 3-pillar morning, pick one health standard for the week, whether that, you know, calorie counting, you know, working out, drinking more water, whatever that happens to be. If I can offer some advice, be specific with it. Don't make a general concept. So I want to work out versus I want to work out 3 times this week, as an example. So get very specific with it. Pick one small win to stack daily, and, you know, ask another man to hold you accountable to it. So this is the standard, guys. We rise, we lead, we love together. Thank you.